Okay. All right. Oh, nice. Okay. Um, Hi everyone. It's Brian. Happy Friday. Glad you could all make it. I am sitting here enjoying my Friday, and I'd like to thank all of the people who are joining me today. I'm spinning. I'm spinning. It would be nice if I could see if I was actually, putting anything out. Am I spinning? Let me. Is CPO Parker. Here's a link to a guy that did a great third place write up. Yes, yeah, CPO Parker. I was actually that was actually the tweet I saw as well. Uh, it's interesting. Well, it's not. It is interesting. Yeah. I am. So, hey, CPO Parker. Hello. Oh, hello. Okay. Why in the hell is so CPO Parker? Just tell me if I'm spinning on the screen and you can't see my my system or not. So great article, great site. Saw his tweet and pick short videos. Yeah. Um, Pop over. Okay, so that's VMware. I actually was going to put the Edge browser up because I wanted to show the other thing. Here we go. Moving it back. Okay, good. For some reason, my shit is just spinning here on my screen, so I couldn't see if I was actually saying anything or doing anything. So I appreciate the shout out there. Um, so for those of you expecting Miss Tanisha Cybersec Divas class, her computer died, and she's going to go buy a couple of refurbished burner laptops. So we will not be recording it tonight. I'm trying to crack down on, or not crack down, but trying to get the schedule set up and trying to get that knocked out, so that we can better plan for the dates that are coming up. So while I was actually in, so I'm doing my part, got my bivalent shot. You should go get your COVID bivalent shots as well. BA4, BA5 still a real threat. So I've got mine literally an hour ago. So not sure if I'm gonna feel like ass, but can't feel any worse than COVID did. So looking forward to seeing if I get superpowers or something like that. So the she texted me and said, "Hey, there was some issues with importing an OVA file in VMware Workstation, which is one of the systems we'll be using Remnux for the class. I'm not going to teach a lot. I'm not going to teach anything in this class right now, but came home and was troubleshooting some of these issues. So I was able to download Remnux and get it to work in at least the version of VMware Workstation I have, which is like 16 dot something something something. I sent her a screenshot because we were troubleshooting all this together just about half an hour ago. Let me see. It was version 16.2.4 build. It ends in 9737. So yeah. I'm hoping not scheduled for next week. I'm actually, she said she's going to go to Best Buy and grab a couple of refurbished Samsung laptops. She's got to rebuild her environment, which, in malware analysis, you don't want to screw this up. So obviously you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence to not, allow malware, because as we've stated in previous streams, this is real malware that we'll be testing. So making sure your environment is set up properly is going to be key. So, but yeah, I was, running VMware, VMware Workstation with the version that we've got. It booted up. I was able to import the OVA file fairly easily. No issues. There's a lot of updates in the ISO though. I had 142 updates, kind of like Kali Linux, where if you haven't used it for a week, you end up with about 5 terabytes of downloadable. We don't call it updates. We call it downloadable content, like DLC or whatever. I would imagine we could get away with calling it that. So I am hoping. I'm hoping. Okay, my channel. Oh, there I am. Okay, I can at least see me. Okay, that's good. I don't know why my app is being the way it is, but there it is. So yeah, I didn't have any problems importing it. Booted right up to this screen with a terminal window. So I'm hoping, when we do the recording, we won't have any issues. But she needs to make sure that she's got the right equipment, everything set up properly. Because when we start doing the malware analysis, the last thing she wants to do is own up her own network. So completely understand having got to have the tools necessary to do that. So we're gonna make that happen. So let me see if I can do this right. VMware hide. There we go. Okay, so CPO Parker very, very astutely realized what third places was, or knew what I was talking about. I actually watched the video that he had posted last night. A very interesting discussion about third places, which I'd never heard of the comment before. He appears, according to his byline, he appears to enjoy walkable communities, which I don't know if I've ever lived in a walkable community. I don't know what his definition is of that. I mean, I'm less than 2 miles from a Starbucks. I don't know if that's what walkable means, if a 2 mile walk is a Starbucks walk or what have you. So yeah, there's a number of people are latching onto this, obviously, because this person's fairly popular. So they're trying to cash in on that. Let me see. Oh yeah, here's the original link. So he's got his hipster mustache. I could not have a mustache like that. It would keep getting in the way of my oatmeal or my food. What the? Oh, Trevor Noah's leaving the Daily Show. Oh, that's too bad. Sorry, I actually don't watch the Daily Show, but yeah, that's a shame. Okay. But yeah, so it he talked about urban sprawl. I've actually heard several podcasts talk about the what is it? There was there's migrations in history. You have the ones where the First Nations came across the land bridge in the Bering Strait. You have massive migrations of animals that happen on a seasonal basis. Well, the other one that I believe happened was the creation of suburbs. Everybody left the city and moved out to the suburbs, which we have seen a lot of happening in, during the pandemic. People are like, I don't want to live in Seattle because I live in an apartment, and COVID sucked because pretty much everybody was quarantined, and even in Seattle, we're seeing some of that right now, where a lot of businesses are leaving what they considered like Pioneer Square, or that was a really desirable place in the Seattle area, and if you're down there, you're paying a lot of rent. You're paying, but it was very very focused. A lot of people in one popular, density population was very high, but there was a lot of restaurants and a lot of places to live and hang out and do things. And he's talking about third places, which are what was it? Eat, pray, and buy stuff. I think that's what it was. And he talks about in his video that the hole that's left by what did CPO Parker say? There's a bookstore in Lake Forest called the Third Place Books. They responded to his tweet. Okay. Yeah, dorm living theory, big red, splint. Nah, I wouldn't say it was splint. That. I think he's absolutely correct. There's very few places where people go that you don't eat or drink something. You're not, what used to be worshiping, or you're. I would say one of the other third places might be working. You work, pray, or eat. Or I guess the fourth place would be buying things. But yeah, it just seems like I may have misspoke. I am more than willing to believe that I'm incorrect on anything, and I try to remain malleable, if at all possible, on many things, which is one of the reasons I'm starting to come around to the fact that maybe we're not moving the needle in security as much as we are. But I did make some not inflammatory comments. Yeah, libraries are great. Great example there, CPO Parker. They don't support socializing. Uh, the funny thing about libraries, I can't. Hello. Oh shit. Are you sure? Oh, okay. As long as you guess you don't have frozen. Okay. All right. Cool. Drive safe. Love you. How long does cheesecake in it? 30 minutes. Okay. I will try not to burn my cheesecake. All right, y'all. So I got 30 minutes, and then the oven's going to go off, and my cheesecake will be done. So I hope you don't, run away. But between you and cheesecake's more important. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Um, ThoughtCon. I've heard a lot about ThoughtCon. Is that one of those ones where you got to know exactly where it is, and you won't find out until you buy the tickets, and it's real gatekeepy and shit? It's like HushCon. You got to be on the mailing list to buy tickets because you got to know somebody who will be willing to vouch for you and get on there. Yeah. Oh shit. Well, I got some people in my office now, so it's fine. Yeah, HushCon is not invite only, Ring Z. I have been a member for several years. So anyway, I have misspoke. I said security conferences aren't good. I've argued that it's not they are they useful? They're just an echo chamber. They're a third place, right? I've been to DerbyCon, B-sides. If you stay out of the you're not buying anything there for the most part. It's a place where people can sit down for hours at a time and talk with one another and socialize. You have LobbyCon. InfoSec conferences are our third place. To be honest, well, I mean, this is not, I ask nicely if you would like to donate, but I'm not pushing product on you or anything like that. I have a local meetup that I do, but it's at a place pretty much like a restaurant or something like that, where you have the option to buy something. You don't have to, but yeah, I mean, third places when I watched the videos, and there's two of them in that stream in that levels. Yeah, so he's got one and this one here. That actually that front looks like Amsterdam or something. That's kind of nice. Okay. But yeah, the discussion when I watched these videos, what made me, I was like, okay, I understand the need for third places. And he mentioned that if you're traveling more than 20 miles or 20 minutes on a commute, that there's less time for you to actually go and do anything, which I've found a lot of. It's like I've had people tell me for CSEC East, well, it's in Bellevue and I work there. By the time I drive home, I don't want to drive all the way back to Bellevue. And, I completely understand that, and most of the time that I've lived in Seattle, I've worked from home. When we first moved up here, I was working my job out of Austin, and then I got the job at CrowdStrike and what have you. Majority of my time has been working at home. And so I started the CSEC East stuff with the idea that I needed to get out and socialize and network with people and learn those things. So, yeah, I mean, oh, good. Excuse me. All right, I'll keep an eye out on the time. I'll look at about 15:50. So yeah, Ring Z, ThoughtCon, great idea, but is there a link? Can you post a link to ThoughtCon's tickets or what have you? I will tell you publicly. If you want to go to HushCon, let me know. I am not a fan of how they gatekeep things. I actually had somebody who told me at work, been trying to go for years. I have, they'd asked coworkers who'd gone and they got real cagey about it. And I'm not exactly sure why. Um, this year they actually have a fairly decent venue in the Seattle area. Washington, I want to say the Washington. It's when I went like the second year I went, and it was in a really nice venue, and then they had like 3 or 4 years of really shitty venues. This one is actually a really nice venue, and I'm glad they've managed to get this one again. So, but if you want to go to Hush, let me know. I will give you the mailing list, and then you can sign up and go to that. The drive back to Tacoma after work for things is a big ask. CPO Parker, what do you do in Tacoma in Pacific Northwest? Is it like South Sound Hackers? I don't even know if they're still around. Is it a Digital Warhead? Look at you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. ThoughtCon registration.html. HTML. There you go. Okay. ThoughtCon taken 312. Oh, I see. Hacking conference in Chicago. Nonprofit, non-commercial. Excellent. DC2. Oh, DC253. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's rough. After you fight traffic going home, the last thing you want to do is turn around and go back into that. I completely understand. I live out here in Snoqualmie, which for those of you who don't know, in the Pacific Northwest, about 30, 40 minutes outside of Seattle, depending on the traffic. I don't expect people to come out to Snoqualmie where I live for a meetup because that would make me an asshole. So I use Bellevue or I use Redmond because I'm going to be traveling 30 to 40 minutes too. And I don't know, however, erroneously, but I assume that if I'm willing to make the trek, why can't other people make the trek? That's just me. But yeah, so you can get your tickets. When is it? Oh, wow. May 20th, 19th and 20th, 2023. Okay, so I missed it this year. And I'd love to go to that next year, but May 19th and 20th, we are literally going to be in the middle of trying to move. So I do appreciate the link, CPO Parker, and maybe next year I will definitely look at going to another couple of conferences. I will be going to B-Side San Diego next month, which is, I think they still have tickets, but that's pretty sweet. Oh yeah, and they've smartly, will automatically register and confirm your ISC squared CPEs. So that's nice as well. Very cool. $85 for a student, $200. Wow. Okay, yeah. HushCon was similarly priced. Yow. Okay. Wow. Okay. So yeah, there's a link to ThoughtCon if you want to go. But yeah, so conferences are our third space. Even though we do have to pay to go to these conferences, there's still a place where we can go to talk and I think we need more of these third spaces. So I'm kind of reversing what I had said about conferences not being useful. There is an obvious, getting to the conferences cost. I don't know if they're what the original person had stated is a third space, like a library or what have you. But yeah, there's definitely a third space kind of feel, a third place kind of feel to those things. So, yeah, so I don't know why this is spinning. It's like my internet is just janky as shit right now. I don't know what's up, but, yeah, so, oh yeah, thanks Ring Zed. For those of you who know me and have listened to the podcast, I was stationed in San Diego, met my wife there. Our daughter was born in La Jolla. None of these are security questions for password recovery, so don't worry about that. So yeah, we moved, when I left San Diego to move to Austin, I was very much against the move from San Diego to Austin because it was what I knew. As I grew up in San Diego, when I got to San Diego, it was like I knew I had arrived and this is where I needed to be, and San Diego is awesome, and why the hell would you want to leave that and go to Austin? Well, Austin was how I got my InfoSec career started, so I can't hate on it. And then when we moved to Seattle, that further moved things along, and I started the podcast and nonprofit and all these other things that we've done. So the move to San Diego is kind of bittersweet because I am leaving the Seattle area. Our nonprofit's going away. InfoSec Campout won't be coming back. CSEC East, for those of you who do go to CSEC East and CSEC, I'm going to be announcing at CSEC East on the 5th that when I leave, unless somebody takes it over, it's going to go away. And so, it's an ebb and a flow and a change and a bunch of stuff. So, I wish and hope that somebody wants to take over CSEC East and CSEC and make it happen. But such is the way of things. A lot of meetups go away. So, he was also talking about things like Elks Club. Oh, yeah. So CPO Parker, I am a veteran. When I grew up in small town America, and when I mean small town, my town when I was growing up there had like 1,300 people, and it was interesting because one of the few organizations in town, other than like the Elks Club, like you were mentioning, a CPO, was VFW. Not Disabled American Veterans, but American Legion. We had those. Didn't know what they were about because my father was not a veteran. My grandfather was supposedly a veteran on my father's side, but I was like 5 when he died. And then the Elks Lodge, and then you've got Shriners. You've got all these organizations, these fraternal organizations, the Masons, what have you. And I always wondered if they were useful, what they were for. It's not just Elks Lodge. There's there's a bunch of these different fraternal organizations. And, but yeah, they can definitely be places and organizations where you can go as well. I just haven't seen a need to join those types of organizations. And it might be something I do in San Diego where, I go down to the VFW. I heard, and when I lived in a small town when I grew up, it had the best bar because there was no bar in town. That was it. So, but yeah, I mean, CPO, you're absolutely correct. Elks Club. The weird thing is they've always been, I don't know if they've been kind of secretive, but it's just like one of those things that people go to. Yeah, so here's Elks Lodge. Elks believe fraternal order, promote and practice 4 cardinal virtues of charity. Charity, justice, brotherly love, and fidelity, to promote the welfare and enhance the happiness of its members, to quicken the spirit of American not sure I like the idea of a group that uses the term patriotism these days and age, but yeah, I'm sure they do something. Oh yeah, Lions Club, American Legion, Knights of Columbus. Yeah, the Odd Fellows. There's actually one of them in Kiwanis, Rotary. Let me see. What's some of the other one? Cracker Barrel. What the fuck? What? Oh yeah, the Moose Lodge. The Moose. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a number of these organizations like this. I'm sure they pay dues. So technically they're not a third place, but he does mention these Elks Clubs with membership dues and what have you. So yes, I'm, like I said, reversing some of my thoughts on conferences. They're a good networking tool, if at all, as long as people are using them thusly. They're our third place for InfoSec. So, and if anything, it's people who are in the same boat as you. So it's almost like military. One of the first things you get friends and meet friends and have a lot of new friends in the Navy because everybody's in the same suck that you are. InfoSec, I think, is very much in that respect, or that vein as well. Everybody's in the same suck that you are, and everybody can sympathize with your issues, or you can always bounce ideas and be collaborative with folk. So, yeah. So I was going to have to cut this a little short tonight because I was going to be recording show. I was also going to be, let me see, is the threat intelligence quiz up and running? Nope. Okay, they're a little late this week with that. They would have been out normally, but so what was so Digital Warhead ThoughtCon is in 2023, May 2023. Yeah, there you go. Sorry if the font is garbage. 312. So 312 is the area code for that. So yeah, there you go, ThoughtCon. And yeah, like I said, if any of you want to go to HushCon, either New York or Seattle, let me know. I will give you the information offline. Technically, I can't give it to you in public. I've been burned by that before. So yeah, there's a number of things there. So go home. This has a definite feel of like a GitHub page or something, which I'm not against. And oh, they have IRC, great. Yeah, okay. And then of course you can follow them on Twitter, and you subscribe to their mailing list if you'd like. You can scroll up in the chat if you want to. So yeah. But yeah, so so what's everybody's wins this week? Anybody have any big wins? Any security issues? There was an O day for Exchange. If you have on-prem Exchange, you're probably going to be enjoying a patch weekend because there was a grip of items that came out about an Exchange O day. Okay. Where is it? InfoSec. Let's see. That's not it. There, Exchange O day. Yeah, here we go. I did see somebody talking about IOCs, potentially IOCs. There are two, apparently, O days in Exchange being exploited in limited target attacks. Server-side request forgery, allowing authenticated attackers to make requests posing as the affected machine. Note the authenticated attackers, so they need to actually have credentials or an account or a password or something in your environment. And then there's this is probably again an authenticated attacker. So this is probably why they haven't been. I haven't seen this been like, oh my God, all the things, like on Twitter where I see that where it's like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. It does require an authenticated attacker. So either authenticated probably to the Exchange server or what have you. The Microsoft blog post I saw, let me see if I posted that in our Discord chat. So yeah. Just wanted to see. Oh yeah, here's a good link. Let's see. I have to figure out why Discord is actively making me have to scroll down through my windows about 15 times or what have you. No, I did not post it. Okay, so there was a link to Microsoft's blog posts about they basically said, hey, if you were affected by these vulnerabilities and you're using O365, you have nothing to worry about. We're already going to put in mitigations, which basically meant we're going to block certain things that they believe will help block. I'll be right back. Sorry, y'all. Got 12 minutes left on the cheesecake. I could smell it cooking, which is like, I didn't want to burn my cheesecake. My wife makes amazing cheesecakes. So there was a blog post somewhere from MSRC. I thought that it said you were, October Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Anyway, it says there's no proof of concept scripts or exploitation tools available in the wild yet that they know of. However, that just means the clock's ticking. Yeah. So here is the first vulnerability, the server-side request forgery. Here, I'll put this in here in case you want to, test that PowerShell command to make sure that you haven't been owned yet. Get child item recurse path to the IIS logs filter star.log, and then the select string is looking for PowerShell dot star auto discover JSON, and then there's a bit of extra bit here. So tool released on GitHub, NCSE0 scanner, copy. Go grab that. If anything, it'll give you peace of mind to know if you've been owned or not. I think they're probably going to tell you to make sure you've turned OWA off, just to make sure that people can't do brute force attacks against your. I don't know why you would need OWA this day and age, but hey, what do I know? I'm sure there's a legitimate reason for that. Yeah, Microsoft said Exchange Online customers are not affected and do not need to take any action. However, organizations using Exchange Online are likely to have hybrid Exchange environments with a mix of on-prem and cloud systems. They should follow the above guidance on the on-prem servers. So yeah, apparently some orgs are still, straddling that line between, legitimate cloud and not legitimate cloud for whatever reason. And they say per Microsoft, on-prem Exchange users should apply these rules through the URL rewrite rule module on IIS server. So default auto discover rewrite actions, request blocking, add the following string. So this is nice, and that fixes at least one of the issues. Oh, and they also should be blocking 5985 and 5986 used for remote PowerShell. So not sure why you would have those running on your internet facing Exchange server, but I guess there's a legitimate reason. Yeah. So does that fix both of them or just one of them? I'm not sure. Oh, maybe this is the link. No. Pair blindsiding, no patch yet. Okay, they're calling it proxy, not shell. Okay, great. Okay, so a 6.3 and an 8.8. That's why they haven't been considered just crushingly bad, because the 6.3 is fairly, it's going to be a little difficult. There's probably some levels of problems. Plus, you have to be authenticated, so you actually have to know a user. Again, may not be a huge deal, but let me see, blindsiding disclosure bug. Using this ODay vulnerability to help stop. We published this article aimed at those organizations who are using Exchange servers. Okay, so yeah, Gossi. I saw Gossi mentioning it last night. I think he was talking about it, and somebody said, "Hey, you need a logo," and oh God, that's genius. I like that. That's probably logo of the year right there. So, yeah, that's funny. Goddamn. Post that link in the notes as well. So, so there you go. Gossi, the dog, posting up one of his favorites. Let me see here. To exploit proxy not shell, you need an authenticated user. From testing, this can be any email user, so it is pretty risky. So any email user from, PR folks all the way up to, security people. So he also suggests my guidance would be to stop representing OWA to the internet until there's a patch, unless you want to go down the mitigation route, but that has been known for about a year. He says there's other ways to exploit Exchange for RCE without PowerShell necessarily. If you have SSRF or server-side request forgery, you are a god in Exchange and can access any email via EWS. EWS. I don't know what that is. EWS. EWS. Exchange Web Service. EWS. Exchange Web Service, maybe. Copy the link. Seriously, if you don't follow Gossi on Twitter, one of the few people that is actually posting up some really great content there. So There you go. Wow. Okay, so this is a post request with XML SOAP. Yeah, okay. Distinguish folder ID drafts, parent folder, find item, body. Okay, HTTP 200 okay. All right. Exchange cookie expires. So this is already an expired cookie, so it doesn't matter. Okay. See SUID user 500. Security identifier. That, yeah, security identifiers. Yes. Body, subject body, item ID. That's a. Oh, okay. I thought that was going to be a longer bit than it was. That's base 64. Looks like base 64 encoded. Item ID. So, yeah. Some interesting stuff there. Type, yeah. So this is the XML file with looks like HTML. Looks like it's an HTML file inside an XML wrapper, including style sheets and some additional bits there. So go take a look at that. And that's a EWS get email proxy shell. So that's a way of getting a shell via a proxy or EWS in Exchange. So apparently it still works. But that's the how-to. I mean, you'd have to format everything, I would imagine, properly to make that happen. But okay. All right, Digital Warhead. Thank you. Oh, and I got your email. I was reading through that, Digital. So I do appreciate the response. So, wow. Okay, that took minutes. This is logs from the victim sending out CAC bot emails last week in IIS. You can see the proxy shell exploitation, then mail exporting with EWS. Explains how they're replying to existing email chains. So there you go. Okay. Going to be painful for defenders as you now basically have criminal gangs smashing and grabbing business emails, then reusing them to spread ransomware via legit email services. Yeah, not fun times. And yeah, hope everybody in Florida is doing well with Ian and the aftermath of that. And of course, Georgia and North Carolina and South Carolina, which is getting the ugly bits of what's left over from Category 1 Ian. So. Okay, so Lady P, who normally joins us on our stream here, if she isn't already, we have issues with this. We have issues with talking about. So apparently Optus, which for those of you who are not in Australia watching this or listening to this, is a telecom provider, and they apparently have been breached. And I believe, I want to say 11.5 million people were affected by this breach. And of course, the Sydney Morning Herald is saying, oh, they're going to face multi-million-dollar fines for this. Oh no, what's going to happen to Optus? It doesn't take much for people to go and look and see Google Optus Q2 2022 earnings report. So, of course, because, they're a publicly traded company, they have to file in their respective organizations and places for how much they may have made in, various quarters, because obviously they want their stock to go up, not down. But media release, here we go. Check that out. So for the full year ending in March 31st, 2022, profitable growth. They made Australian $249 million in one quarter. Now, okay, so they're they've got a bunch of issues, but they made $250 million Australian dollars, which for us, let's see, $250,000 Australian dollar. God damn, to the US. There you go. So we need 250 million. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, so we need 2 more zeros. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yep. All right, so that is 1, 2, 3, $159 million. So unless the Australian government is going to make them pay 20% of whatever they made in that quarter, you can assume they made $1 billion a year. And multi-million-dollar fines is not going to really cause them any real pain, considering it may take years to sort out the breach from this. So, yeah, major fines and damages payouts. Yeah, I mean, again, not to belabor the point, but this is why we say reputation damage, loss of profits or whatever, fines, those are no longer things to worry about. I mean, about the only thing I would say would be an issue these days, you might, and I was just thinking on this last week, there have been breaches where the government has, basically crawled up inside this organization like a tauntaun and, has been monitoring them or requiring them to show due diligence, over the past years. I think Twitter had this issue, but again, as we saw from the recent whistleblower, maybe after a while they just stopped caring in that respect. So there may still be a carrot or a stick there where you can say, look, we don't want, do you want the CEO testifying in front of Congress, or do you want, government inspectors crawling up inside you like a tauntaun, and, being Luke Skywalker on Hoth, looking in our books and looking at our practices and making sure that we're doing X, Y, and Z. That might still be a reason to, care. Yeah, seeing something here. What is this? OBS has a bunch of cool stuff now that they've gone to 28, so I'm still learning things. Chat highlight settings. Oh, okay, that's a new thing. Okay. I don't have that, so. But yeah, so apologies if you live in Australia and you have we got to be getting close. Oh. Okay. All right. That's what the little beep 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 I heard was. So yeah, I'm back. Managed to not burn my cheesecake and piss my wife off. So yeah, there we go. Thank you for that. I do appreciate that. One of my friends is also asking me, do I just need to become a software engineer and leave security behind? That is entirely up to you. You're leaving one set of problems for a completely different set. Yeah, my daughter was talking about something similar the other day. She was like, "Oh yeah, I should just stop doing this and go and do this." And the first thing I thought of was along lines of me leaving, trying to find a job that is less security. Was, well, I feel like I have problems now, but there's the same bullshit in that field where everything looks nice and green that you stepping in, whatever. I'm in metaphor mode today, folks. So, the grass ain't always greener on the other side. Something. You're replacing one set of problems with another. So, Everybody has their own problems. We just tend to whitewash them when other folks are interested in coming over. Don't know why. All right. Shut that off, shut that off, shut that off. It is, kind of macabre to go and, find out, well, some company's been fined $10 million or something, and then you find out they made like 500 times that in one quarter, and there's no real surrounding error at that point. So that's my whole point of, unless these fines actually hurt, nothing is going to change or happen there. So I'll post the Nathan Allen Bach thing out. There we go. You all can take a look at that. But okay. I was looking at something else there for that. All right. So 30 changes there. Software defined radio is great. This week in ransomware. Let's see what got ransomware this week. Ooh. Okay. So a little update on the bivalent COVID shot. I think she got me. I'm a little, I think she hit a vein or something, but I'm starting to feel the soreness happen through the musculature and at the injection site. So I won't say you won't not have side effects, but it is a thing. So this week's news primarily around Lockbit, Black Matter, and the rising enterprise targeting Royal ransomware operation. Oh, interesting. Well, we're gonna read up a little bit on ransomware and threat intelligence before we get to our Sockville quiz for the week or whatever. Target company ransomware affiliates are now targeting publicly exposed Microsoft SQL servers. Interesting. Now, why would they do that? Oh, yeah, that's right. There's a bunch of good stuff in there. Leaping Computer has reported similar attacks in February, dropping Cobalt Strike. Yay, good job, Cobalt Strike. Beacons, and in July when threat actors hijacked MS-SQL servers to steal bandwidth for proxy services. Latest wave is more catastrophic, aiming for a quick and easy profit by blackmailing database owners. Yep. So somebody puts their MS SQL server exposed to the internet, or in some easy way that they can grab it, and they get in there and dump a database full of crown jewels or whatever it is that's in there, sales data or user information or what have you. Researchers note the ransomware infection starts with the process on the compromised box downloading a .NET file called command. It's using command.exe or PowerShell.exe. Okay, so that would be a. I think we've talked with Mick Douglas about egress items, right? Should a MS SQL server have external access to go out and download a a .NET file with CMD or PowerShell? I would argue a database does not need access out in any way, shape, or form. If it does, then send it through a proxy, a web proxy, or something like that, where it can be easily looked at. Or MS SQL server, does it need, maybe you're sending data to a third party or something, but there should be trusted connections to and from database servers. You should know every connection that's coming from your database server. And then they say the payload fetches malware, including the ransomware locker, generates and runs a batch file, .bat that terminates specific processes and services, probably logging. Looks like it also does BCD edit, boot policy. Oh, okay. Boot policy, status policy, kills process. Okay, which includes SQL Server, Oracle, SQL SVR, or serve svr.exe, SQL Writer, reporting services. That makes sense. They spelled reporting serve CES service.exe. All right. These are the processes killed by Fargo prior to initiating encryption. ASEC. Okay. Copy. If I'm going to post this up as a podcast, I probably should keep track of some of the links. Goddamn. Okay. Yeah. Our SQL subset at work doesn't allow for outside network access. That's great. That's great. Exactly, CPO. Funny side note, I just used the MFA at work and discovered my corp VPN's been routing me through Sydney for the day. Wait, why is that, CPO Parker? Is that normal? Do you work for a company? I mean, I've gotten on to like meetings with our teleconferencing stuff where the call's been routed through Japan, but um, so CPO Parker, tell us why you said our SQL subset at work doesn't allow for outside network access. It doesn't allow for outside network access coming in, but are you also watching the egress going out? Because um, I don't think a SQL server should be going and downloading a file from the internet, whether automated or otherwise, or using CMD or PowerShell. So it seems like there'd be a way to easily. Seems like, did I say just? Have I said the word just yet? No. Okay. It seems like there would be a way if the nearest VPN node is down, it is using a different node. Well, okay. All right, that's fair. CPO, I just got an email saying that my office, which I still technically have a physical office and a desk that I've never been to, is going to internet only. So my big ass building that I work in or am supposed to work in, our data VPC doesn't allow for any external network access, in or out. That's good. That's good if that's the case. We were notified that all of our internet connectivity in our offices, in our big high-rise office in Seattle, is going to internet only. So you go in, you're going to plug in. There's no data shares or anything that you can access without being on a VPN or using our MFA connectivity. Everything is going to where it's not just you log in and you're going to have access to a map drive or a file server, printers or what have you. So I find that kind of cool. Looking forward if I ever have to go in downtown to see what that looks like. But yeah, so exempt from encryption are several Microsoft Windows system directories, boot files, Tor browser, Internet Explorer, user customizations and settings, debug log files, or the thumbnail database. After encryption completes, the locked files are renamed using the Fargo 3 extension, and the malware generates the ransom note, and it says, your files are encrypted. To decrypt, follow the instructions. To recover data, you need decrypt tool. To get that tool, in the letter, include your personal ID. Send me this ID and email to me. In your first email to me, we can give you free test. I'm saying this exactly, we can give you free tests for decrypt few files, not value, and assign the price for decryption all files. After we send you instruction how to pay for decrypt tool, and after payment, you will receive a decryption tool. So, Rico helper at cock.li. Interesting. Okay. So they give you a personal ID generated based on, which system, I guess, and which user was encrypted and what have you. In case of non-payment of ransom, your data may be published in the public domain in our page in Telegram with data leaks, http://t.me and then there's truncated item. So they do have a Telegram apparently that you can potentially follow or get involved with. Victims are threatened leaking on the threat actor's Telegram channel unless they pay the ransom. I mean, again, how difficult is it to not CPO, please, I don't want to say just here because, there's always reasons why people do things, whether or not they like it or not. There should be ways to limit incoming and outgoing access to your databases, especially if those databases have information in them. It may be that you need to talk to your lawyers, legal people to help you get secure on those. If you can show legal folks the kind of risks there, maybe they can help you out with that. CPO Parker says, that's what I do. From the internal network, no access on external port 22. We have always on VPN, so I switch it back to my default at home in Oregon so I can get to getlab.com. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. October is supposed to be InfoSec Awareness Month, but I'm not feeling really awareness-y. I'm not feeling the awareness, right? I mean, what do we tell people? Because I've I actually asked on Twitter. I was like, what are some of these truthisms or truth, these platitudes or you know, colloquialisms that we have, right? Like in security, like security's everybody's job. Security's everybody's responsibility. What do we tell people? Because it's obvious that we want people to believe that security is everybody's job. But just like open source code reviews, we all assume that other people are looking at the code because many eyes on the code. Well, many eyes on the code is not really true, is it? The only eyes are people downloading these things and using them. I think I talked a couple of weeks ago about somebody blindly downloading a Java crypto implementation. Let me see. What was it? Java Ed 25519. Yeah. So I think I talked about this where somebody told me they had developers that were just downloading code off of GitHub and using it like this, and didn't bother to look at it, didn't bother to vet it. It's now inside a product. It's probably going to be pushed out. Code hasn't been looked at least 3 years, maybe more, depending on when this was added. This is part of the I2P, which is, I'm hoping, yeah, it's an anonymous network. We've actually had these folks on our show. Oh God, it's probably been about 5 years ago to talk to them about, talking about these things because we couldn't get anybody from Tor on. But some of these things are being used in, legitimate privacy application, right? And there's legitimate issues that they've got that don't appear to have been looked at. The last one was 2021, so the last people to look at this one is 2021, and then there's, from what I gather, there's a better implementation of Ed 25519 called Bouncy Castle. So I'm typing this in, but you can Google it. Java Ed 25519 Bouncy Castle. Good thing is, they're very nice. That's not what I wanted. That's it'll be the second one under javadoc.io. So there you go. The Bouncy Castle class at javadoc.io. There's a couple of other websites, bouncycastle.org, I think. Yes, bouncycastle.org. Where you can grab those. But I mean, are there any new little sayings or whatever that we need to have? MFA fatigue has started to become the term du jour of people. It's like, oh, they got breached because of MFA fatigue. All right, well, what do we tell our users? We will not be asking you multiple times in a row for your MFA token. CPO Parker says we've used Bouncy Castle in applications years ago. Do you have a better Ed 25519 implementation that you use, or did you build one in house, CPO Parker? And if you can't tell me, that's fine. Just wondering, because between the one that I showed and Bouncy Castle, those appear to be the only ones that Java have available. And from what I understand, Bouncy Castle is the only one that is, I don't want to say more better, but it's being actively maintained. As you can see, the release 1.72 just came out, well, literally Sunday, so 25 September. So If there's another option, or this is something that everybody uses, because I know everybody uses Java still. So what are they using for crypto libraries? Is there specific implementation or what have you? So yeah, bouncycastle.org, BOUNCY castle.org, all one word. So yeah, I mean, Windows API. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it's just there's a lot going on there, but it's so I mean, what are these platitudes? You know, we're not going. You know, if you are getting multiple MFA alerts, don't click yes. Because I mean, this is where we're at right now. We're finally getting companies on board with the idea of two-factor auth, and we're already moving off of that to going back to hardware keys or something. You know, either we're going too fast for the companies that we work for, you know, and shitting on them about, you know, SMS 2FA is dead is not helpful if we have users that are, you know, lacking the technology or lacking the ability to, you know, have, you know, Okta push or, you know, even phones in this case, you know, you know, okay, sorry. When we think of solutions, we need to also think of, well, what happens if, you know, somebody, you know, oh yeah, we'll just download a mobile app and use that. Some of our technology and our security does not take into account the disparity or you know, the disparity in technology stacks. Would in, you know, my 85-year-old grandparents or my 75-year-old mother-in-law be able to use Octopush? You know, what does it mean for her to use that? Is it ubiquitous across all people? You know, if it's one of those things where she gets an SMS text and, you know, that's good enough for her, or, you know, she needs to be, you know, is it awareness training? I mean, what is it that we need to do? So I'm trying to figure out how we can combat MFA fatigue without, you know, upsetting the apple cart, if you will. Let me see. Some more ransomware stuff. Let's see. Another interesting research. Another interesting research is the prediction that that doesn't sound like a good sentence. So another interesting research is the prediction that ransomware gangs may move away from encrypting altogether and switch to a pure data exfiltration file deletion to cut out the ransomware developer. Really? Interesting. Huh. Okay. Well, that's an interesting concept. I'm not sure the ransomware developers like that idea. Ransomware data theft tool may show a shift in extortion tactics. Okay. Copy. Drink. So this is a Bleeping Computer article from Sergiu, Sergiu Gatlin. Data exfiltration malware known as XMatter, EXMatter, and previously linked with the Black Matter ransomware group, now being upgraded with data corruption functionality that may indicate a new tactic that ransomware affiliates might switch to in the future. I guess if you know, it takes time and effort to download the software to encrypt it, if you could just create something that they download immediately and it starts corrupting the data and shipping it out, and then that may be optional. New sample spotted by malware analysts with the Cyderes, CYDERES special operations team during a recent incident response following Black Cat ransomware, and later shared with the Stairwell threat research team for further analysis. As files upload to the actor-controlled server, the files that have been successfully copied are queued to be processed by a class named Eraser. A randomly sized segment starting at the beginning of the second file is read into the buffer and then written into the beginning of the first file, overwriting and corrupting the file. Ooh, interesting. So it's a smash and grab, or burning it all down while you're exfiltrating the data. I guess the idea is, they have the data, you're going to pay for it. There's no way to recover your data. You'd be more likely to do so. Hey, Digital Warhead, you're back. What? That's an interesting emoji. Oh, it's Twitch Globe. Okay. Okay. Hey, Digital Warhead, welcome back. So they say, the smash and grab version is probably going to be cheaper. It's definitely more devastating for an attack, right? Using data from one exfiltrated file to corrupt another one, evading ransomware or wiper heuristic data detections, right? Because, like I said, if you're not having to have the server reach out and download whatever encryption mechanism or whatever .NET file is needed, then you can effectively, shrink your workflows. This says xMatter's partially implemented data destruction capabilities are still in development, given that number one, there's no mechanism for removing files from the corruption queue, meaning that some files may be overwritten numerous times before the program terminates, while others may never have been selected. The function that instantiates the eraser class named erase does not appear to be fully implemented and does not decompile correctly. And the second file is chunk length, which is used to overwrite the first file as randomly decided and could be as short as 1 byte long. Okay, so ideally what happens is if it's 1 byte long, it may not be enough to actually fully corrupt the file. Kind of like MS-DOS back in the day. For those of you who actually remember using MS-DOS, they had an undelete function. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because the way they deleted things in MS-DOS was just corrupt the first 3 or 4, characters of the file name and the FAT, and then it, doesn't show up in the FAT table anymore, or the FAT anymore. When you would use the undelete function, it would go in and tell you, oh, do you know what this file is? And it would give you like XX, xxd.exe, and that would be cmd.exe. So you could go, type in C and M, and it would re-add those, and then it would be magically undeleted. I'm assuming it's something similar to that. But yeah, it's an interesting concept. So yeah, it sounds like that they're working on improving it. So you might get, the next iteration of this. Most software development teams iterate. So the next iteration is going to take 175 bytes of, the file after it and put it in the first file. So that gets corrupted. And, you're not going to be able to replace that. Whereas if you could, 1 byte, you may be able to fix the file and make it happen. So let me see. Data corruption features an interesting development, and while it may also be used to evade security software, researchers at Stairwell and Cyderus think that it may be part of a shift in the strategy. Many ransomware operations run as a service, ransomware as a service, where operators and developers are in charge of developing ransomware, payment site, and handling negotiations, while affiliates join to breach corporate networks, steal data, delete backups, and encrypt devices. As part of this arrangement, the operators of the ransomware receive 15 to 30% of any ransom. Oh, I see. So they're wanting to, cut out those folks so they get 15 to 30% more. Interesting. Okay. However, some ransomware operations have been known to introduce bugs that have allowed security researchers to create decryptors. So the ransomware folks want to cut out the operators of the ransomware networks because of potential decryptors and a profit margin issue. So that's interesting. Stairwell. Oh, that may need to go follow them on Twitter. Inside Stairwell is the username or the handle for them. So let me go ahead and follow them. We'll see if they've got any kind of, if that's a marketing and PR stuff or what have you. So affiliates lost out on profits from successful intrusions due to exploitable flaws in ransomware deployed. Well, they just need to work on their contracts, right? If somebody creates a decryptor for your ransomware and you lose us money, then you're going to have to pay us back, or we'll ransomware you. I don't know. Anyway, so let me see. This might be why we're seeing exfiltration tools in the process of being upgraded with in development data corruption capabilities that would allow RAS, our AAS affiliates to remove the ransomware deployment part. Yeah, give yourself an option, right? You could either go the traditional ransomware route, or move it that way. Cool. All right. Well, I mean, that's definitely some interesting information. Bleeping Computer. I'm going to put a link in the chat window and hopefully in the show notes for that. You can read these. It says contributors who provided new ransomware information and stories this week. So there's a number of folks. 4Octets Malware Hunter Team, Malware for Me, Cyderus, Inside Stairwell, Angel 11 VR, ADV Intel. So there's some threat intelligence folks that you can follow, from Bleeping Computer, which I've never seen that before. So that's really nice. If you're looking to build out your threat intelligence feeds in Twitter, that might be a way to build those out. Lawrence Abrams is a good person. Polar Toffee, never heard of that one. So go follow those folks and groups and companies for more information. So well, I'm not gonna be recording anything tonight, but some of the other things that we're working on. So we're gonna be having podcasts. I think there's going to be some change, and as I said at the beginning of my stream and the beginning of the podcast, if I added that on here, when I moved up here to Seattle, the podcast was brand freaking new. Me and Mr. Betcher did one episode in person with one another, and then it was forever virtual. I think we can count on probably less than two hands in-person podcasts where him and I and Miss Berlin and I and him all got together. Usually they were at conferences like DerbyCon, or where we did podcasts with podcasters in the past, which I'd love to do that again if we can. I'd love to get some more folks involved, or get some Twitch streamers like MT Taggart and folks maybe getting involved with that. I have been asked more than once when I'm going to do a 24-hour podcast or Twitch stream, which I don't even know if that's possible for me. I'd run out of shit to talk about probably. But that's definitely something we could look at if we can actually get people to do it, and maybe do something for charity, Black Girls Hack or Hackers Health, or both actually. So yeah, we're working on getting back into a regular cadence with these. Mr. Betcher, Miss Berlin. Miss Berlin, of course, is, she's said yes to being married, and she's working out some issues with, expanding her new family. So, we're letting her take that time to do that. And Mr. Betcher is busy with his work, at his job where he's working. So, I'm going to continue doing podcasts until people stop listening to it, or it's no longer popular. But yeah, we're definitely in flux, and we're definitely going to be making a few changes. If you have any thoughts or input, our Slack and our Discords are available if you want to do that. So yeah, I'm gonna go. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. Yeah, 24-hour streams are brutal, Digital Warhead, but I think the key for that is Discord. Yes, thank you, Digital Warhead, for the Discord in there. Discord.gg/breaksec. We are pushing that out. We do still have a Slack. You can email us at bds.podcast@gmail.com, or send us a DM to Breaksec to get access to that. I find myself on my Discord more than I am on my Slack, but they're both excellent communities, and I try to make sure that any news or any information that I get is passed on to both of them. And we do have moderation in both of them, so it's good times and a lot of good information there. So, Miss Berlin, of course, find her at InfoSystir, INFOSYSTIR. Mr. Betcher is a Betcher Pwned, BOETTCHERPWNED. And you can follow myself at Brian Break on Twitter, BRYANBRAKE. And thank you to all of our Patreon supporters, all of our Twitch stream supporters like Digital Warhead as well, Lady P. Let me see, any new followers? Doc, Twitch activity feed. There we go. Activity feed. Digital Warhead resubscribed. I appreciate you, Digital. Super Lolly, of course. Thank you, Super Lolly, for 6 months. Super Lolly says, hey, it's 6 months already. I'm late as usual. Hope you have a great day. Well, we hope you have an awesome day too, sir. And Digital Warhead, of course, for subscribing at the tierest of tier 3. Thank you, Digital Warhead. You have a good night. And appreciate you. But yeah, I mean, we're working on rewards for folks at higher levels. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you can subscribe to us on a monthly basis for no cost. We are looking to figure out what we can do with our Patreon because since the nonprofit is going to be going away and being dissolved, I have to figure out, you'll basically be giving me money. And what I want to try to do for Miss Berlin and Mr. Betcher, as long as they want to stay on the podcast and whatever they want to do with us, that they get an equitable share of that. So I'm talking with them about what they consider to be equitable, so that way we can get that paid out. So, the other thing is I found out that part of turning off or shutting down the nonprofit is how much money you've spent in the last 3 years since you've paid for that. And I have a spreadsheet right here, which tallied up pretty much all of our expenses for the past 3 years, including meetup.com, Zoom, Libsyn hosting, and things like domain registration and Google G Suite for the nonprofit. And if I was a complete dick, to be honest, it would wipe out whatever we had left in our bank account for the nonprofit. And I feel really bad about doing that, and I don't want to do that. So I've already offered an amount that is far less than how much that I have paid out of pocket. As I said, I didn't do a very good job of managing my nonprofit. I paid for a lot of stuff myself instead of making the nonprofit pay for it, such as it is. I'm going to take a fraction of the total amount that has been done, and I will be fully transparent with folks. If they want to see that, you can DM me on Discord or Twitter, and I will show you a screenshot of how much it was costing, and I have receipts for everything, so I can show proof of that as well. But yeah, it would completely wipe out the amount of money that we have in the bank account as of today. And I was like, yeah, I wanted to actually donate that money to a good cause, which isn't me because I'm making money. So I've offered to take far less than that, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with the remaining, X number of dollars, so that way we can help an organization. Black Girls Hack, Hackers Health were some of the ones we were looking at. Rural Technology Fund. There's a local Seattle one up here giving people free cellular coverage by setting up a municipal cell phone access called Seattle Community Network. I actually wanted to have somebody from their group on to interview them about this. But yeah, there's a number of places. And if anybody has any thoughts on that, we'll definitely take them under advisement. So, but anyway, thank you all for coming. I thought I might see who's up on. Okay, so nobody's on for live channels. Actually, don't even know how many people I've got watching. So, we'll raid Maker Deck. Why not? All right. So, thank you all for coming. Have a great week. Be kind to one another. Take care of yourselves. Please reach out if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, because as we've all said here, the podcast and the stream's nothing without you. If you have anything that you want to know about, I will try to be as transparent as I can. So, wow. Hello, Nikolai Mad. Thank you for following. Last second follow. Appreciate you for coming and hanging out here, or just following me. yeah, we're gonna raid Maker Deck, and hopefully you'll be able to join them. It's kind of hypnotic watching machines actually make things. So, all right, 4, 3, 2, 1. Y'all have a great day, and have a good weekend.